If there is anything that unites humanity, it is Bigfoot. He appears in different countries, in different eras, and under different names. Yeti, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Almasts, Yezen, Yue. There are many names, but the essence is the same. A mysterious hairy creature, either a huge monkey or a miraculously preserved primitive hominid. He hides in mountains, forests, and the most remote corners of the planet, remaining invisible to the human eye. The public became really interested in Bigfoot only in the 20th century, although legends about him have always existed. Stories about the Chinese savage Yezen have come down to us since the 5th century BC. The Australian Aborigines talked about the Yui or Yahoos who lived on the continent long before the appearance of humans. Long white hair, long arms, a monkey face, that's how they described these creatures. There were similar stories in California when the Seminole Indians lived there. One of the most remarkable testimonies is the book Ivan Schildberger's Travels in Europe, Asia, and Africa from 1394 to 1427. The German squire, who was captured by Tamerlane, traveled through Asia in an amazing way. On the Tian Shan, he writes, "Wild people live without permanent homes. Their bodies, except for their hands and faces, are covered with hair. They wander the mountains like animals and feed on leaves, grass, and anything that comes to hand." In the Middle Ages, such stories were taken for granted, along with legends about dragons and people with dog heads. When scientists replaced the storytellers, they began to assume that Bigfoot was some kind of relic hominid that miraculously survived to this day. Perhaps it's a Gigantopithecus, or maybe even a Neanderthal. There are also more exotic versions. Some consider Bigfoot to be an alien from another world using an interdimensional portal. This explains its elusiveness and mysterious orange spheres, which, according to eyewitnesses, often appear in places where this creature may live. If there is a remote forest or mountain corner somewhere, where for weeks you cannot meet a single living soul, except for a bear, then there are almost always legends about the Yeti. Bears should be discussed separately. For example, in the Abkhazian village of Thin in the 19th century, a story occurred that was retold over and over again many years later, when Yetis became fashionable. One prince caught a strange woman hunting. The forehead is low, the body is covered with hair, the skin is dark, the whites of the eyes are red. She did not understand human language and behaved aggressively. The Abkhazians called her Zana. It turned out to be impossible to adapt a woman to life, but Zana had 4 children with different men. She died in 1880. In 1962, Moscow biologists learned about this story. Zana's grave could not be found, but the remains of her son were exhumed. He was a big man, but otherwise he looked like an ordinary man. In 2015, British geneticist Brian Sykes studied these remains. He came to the conclusion that Zana could be an African slave brought by the Turks, or belonged to a tribe of people who miraculously survived in the wild and migrated to Europe from Africa hundreds of thousands of years ago. This is an incredible, but still not ruled out version. Modern interest in the Yeti began with the footprints discovered in 1921 at the foot of Mount Everest by Colonel Charles Howard Berry. After the First World War, expeditions from different countries rushed to the Himalayas, as some were looking for adventures, others were engaged in esotericism, but all with one goal: exploration. The tracks that Howard Berry found were similar to those of a wolf, but much larger. The news of the discovery got into the newspapers, and 30 years later, Eric Shipton's expedition discovered similar traces on the glacier at an altitude of 5,800 meters. The length of the feet was 28 to 35 centimeters. The step width was about 75 centimeters. There were 2 creatures. A local guide familiar with the legend said only, "These are Yeti footprints. He means mountain, T means bear." In the Himalayas, he said, there are many species of Yeti. Huge ones that eat yaks, and smaller ones that can attack humans. A photograph of the footprints, taken in 1952, is published in National Geographic magazine, and the Yeti suddenly becomes the property of the whole world. From that moment on, the real hunt begins. A pilgrimage of scientists, hunters, and enthusiasts. In 1955, the Nepalese government issued a memorandum. Each expedition must pay about $1,100. Yetis can only be killed in self-defense, and trophies cannot be exported from the country without permission. Stories about Bigfoot have been known in the United States since at least the 19th century. Theodore Roosevelt wrote about large humanoid monkeys that ruined beaver hunter camps. Sometimes they showed aggression. One hunter was killed by a strong blow from such a creature. In 1924, a group of gold prospectors in Washington state complained to the authorities about huge savages who pelted them with boulders. One creature was shot down, but the body fell into the canyon, leaving only 36-centimeter footprints. The name Bigfoot was fixed in 1958 after a logger discovered huge footprints. In Canada, the word Sasquatch is more often used to wild man in the Indian language. Other evidence of the Bigfoot's existence is its fur, teeth, and bones. A Yeti scalp was kept in the Nepalese Kamjing Monastery, which Edmund Hillary discovered from a local resident. The examination showed that it was a fake made from a mountain goat skin. The monk who accompanied Hillary was not bothered by this. We in Nepal don't believe in lions and giraffes because we don't have them. And you don't believe in the Yeti because it's not found in your country. The most famous video is the Patterson-Gimlin film 1967, in which an upright figure with long arms walks through the forest. Disputes about the authenticity of this recording are still ongoing. Some believe that this is a costume from the movie Planet of the Apes, others believe in the reality of what is happening. The USSR did not lag behind. Already in 1955, Sergei Obruchev's article Footprints of the Bigfoot in the Himalayas was published in Izvestia. In 1958, hydrologist Alexander Pronin observed a strange creature in the Pamirs. A humanoid figure with a long stride and long arms. The Soviet Commission for the Study of the Yeti, which included Obruchev, Zana Kaufman, and Boris Porshnev, collected a lot of zoological and speleological data, but did not find the Bigfoot. The expedition ended, leaving behind only Stanukovich's report. We didn't bring the Yeti just because it's not there. In 1939, the Germans sent the Honorb expedition to Tibet under the leadership of Ernst Schaefer. The Sherpas told us about the Yeti cave, but there was a giant bear inside. The legend of the Yeti is seamlessly intertwined with reality, fantasies, and the mistaken identification of bears. In the 1990s and 2000s, skepticism intensified. In 2002, Ray Wallace, a former colleague, died, with the help of whom traces of Bigfoot were discovered in 1958. Wallace's heirs found wooden feet in the basement, the root cause of the sensation. In 2017, genetic studies of Yeti teeth, bones, and fur from Tibetan monasteries confirmed that all the finds belong to ordinary animals, mostly bears. Despite the revelations, interest in Bigfoot continues unabated. In Nepal, the Yeti has become a tourist attraction, and in the United States, a subculture of Bigfoot hunters has formed. Podcasts, meetings, and discussions of finds. In 2008, Michael Green filmed Bigfoot with a thermal imager. The authenticity of the picture is questionable. Modern technologies, quadricopters, cameras complicate the life of the mythical creature, but so far it remains elusive. What do you think about this story? Write in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any amazing new stories. See you.